All right, so we're going to knock out a quick study guide here for the ecosystems test that we moved until tomorrow, which I think is a good thing. Let's all look at question number 1. Question 1, go ahead and flip to that. And it's going to say, what do these ecosystems, all of them have in common? Okay, what can you tell me about a reef? What can you tell me about a reef? Where would I find a reef? In the ocean. Okay, so the reef would have salt water. Okay, what else could you tell me about the reef? Probably some fish around, right? Usually you see fish around the reef. Okay, what can you tell me about a pond? Maybe some plants? Maybe around the edge of the pond. What type of water in the pond? Fresh water. We're going to have fish there? No fish in a pond? Yes, fish in a pond. Okay. What about a marsh? What a marsh? Kind of a mix, maybe? Kind of that swampy ground, or brackish water. Okay. What else?
Fish, maybe.
Maybe. Okay, tell me about a prairie. What about a prairie?
A lot of grass.
Grass. All right. Now, here's the common misconception people have with this question. You start looking down through this and you say, fish, fish, fish. I'm going to circle fish as my answer. Well, that cannot be the answer, can it? Because I don't have fish in the prairie. Do I have salt water in the pond? No. Do I have any tall grass in the reef? No. Well, if I eliminate those answers, the only obvious choice for all 4 would be what? Sunlight. Now, do you understand how someone can start off and go fish, 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 and be like fish is the answer without even reading the entire question? Very easy to do. It happens all the time. Be careful. Question 2. What is the difference? When I see that, what does that mean? That's like contrast, the opposite of. What is the difference between an ocean and a lake? Now, I'm not even reading the answers before I do that. I'm going to think in my head, what's the big difference I know of between an ocean and a lake, Caroline? Salt and fresh. That's the biggest thing that I know, but I'm going to now read the answers to see if I need to know more than that. A, ocean ecosystems have less plant life than lake ecosystems. I'm not sure that that's true with all the kelp and the phytoplankton that we talked about. Not sure I like that one. Ocean ecosystems have less animal life than a lake. Well, I think that might actually be the opposite. Don't you? I think lakes might have. That's definitely not the answer. A is probably not, but I got to at least see what else is going on. Ocean ecosystems have salt water, and lake ecosystems have fresh water. Well, guess what? That's the exact same thing that Caroline talked about before we even read the answers. I'm pretty certain that's a better answer than A. Screech owls nest in holes in trees. They eat mice. Eat mice and crickets. They need to live in trees. Where would a screech owl most likely be found? Would it make sense to say that there's mice, crickets, and trees on a beach? No. Would it make sense to say that there's trees, mice, and crickets in a forest?
Yes.
Do I automatically circle forest and keep moving on? No, because it says most likely. Let's find it. I like this answer. That's a maybe, and we'll put a maybe beside that. Could you find a screech owl in a tree with mice and crickets in a desert? Probably not. No. Are there trees and mice and crickets in a rainforest? Probably. Now we're talking about screech owls. What's most likely the answer to this? A forest or a rainforest? Probably the forest. It just makes more sense. Screech owls aren't typically animals that we associate with the rainforest. Okay, which is true of a tropical rainforest. I'm not even looking at my answers. Tell me about a tropical rainforest. Near the equator? It's the middle there. What else? A lot of rain. What else?
A lot of plants.
Many plants. Typically it's hot. All right. I've written some notes about the tropical rainforest. Now let's read my answers. They are only found in South America. No. We said located along the equator, so that's more places than that. Only a few species of plants and animals can be found there. Well, wait a minute. Someone in here said many plants. Few is not, that takes that one out of contention. The tree canopy causes only a small amount of sunlight to reach the ground. Is that true at a rainforest?
Yes.
We didn't mention that, but I remember that. That one, I actually kind of like that one. It's a maybe. Each organism found in a rainforest can also be found in the deciduous forest. Let's just go to the toucan. Any toucans in the forest here? No. Now, although my notes may not have matched up with everything that we said the answer had, do you not think that writing those notes out and thinking about the rainforest ignited your memory of what we talked about the rainforest? And when we're thinking about the many plants, we thought about how tall they are. We thought about how they have a huge canopy, how they don't let sunlight come down. You're doing that as you're working along. You just don't recognize that. Moving on to question 5. Hey, look at this. I'm liking this one, Jack. Jack learned about an organism that can survive in shallow ocean ecosystems as well as in salt marshes. What characteristic does this animal most likely possess? Can the organism survive with a very small amount of food? Is there anything in here that talks about small amount of food? No, I can't even infer that because it says it is in the salt marsh and it's also in the ocean where there's an abundance of food. We were talking about desert or tundra, maybe, but not here. I don't like A. The organism can survive with very little sunlight. Is there anything in there talking about a low angle of the sun, like long nights? No, there's nothing in there saying that it lives deep in the ocean because it says shallow ocean. That one doesn't make sense. Well, I know the answer has to be C, but the organism can survive in salt water. Well, what kind of water do you find in the ocean and in salt marshes? Salt water. Some of these are so simple, but you guys see a longer question and you kind of freak out on me. And you're thinking, I can't do that one, that one's too hard. When that's actually a super simple question, right? That one's super easy. Joey was walking through a forest. When he looked up, he saw a monkey being chased by a panther. Now, Jamari, we could walk out across the baseball field into the forest. Any chances we're going to see a monkey chased by a panther? If so, I'm not going out to the baseball field anymore. Because they could come out on the baseball field and then I'm toast because y'all are faster than I am. And I don't want to get eaten by a panther anytime soon. And I can't climb trees very well. So the monkey gets away, y'all are fast and y'all get away, and there's Mr. Bullens. Soon being decomposed on the baseball field, which would not be a good thing. Where, though, Jamari? Where would that be? Would that be in a rainforest? You and I said it's definitely not a deciduous forest or a coniferous forest. It has to be rainforest. Do you see how you reason your way through these? Not super hard, is it? All right, I'm looking at this here, and it says in the question what type of predator most likely lives in an area with a wheat field. Where would we find this? Like a prairie type of grassland. Now, let's think of this picture that we're looking at. When I see this picture, Jack, do you think alligators? I don't. Do I think that a fox might live there? That one's not bad. I like fox, maybe. What about a lion? Okay, let's say maybe. Are you going to have any otters here? No. Okay, when we come back to our question and it says most likely, I look at this and what most likely would we see? Fox. A fox. If that were different types of grasses, I typically think of a fox living here and maybe on the edge of a forest to have a little bit of both. Kind of some cover and concealment. Which best, again, best describes overall, best describes a desert during the day. Okay, now we learned a lot of stuff in here. Cold and wet, does that describe a desert? No. Cold and dry? Maybe. Maybe. Hot and wet? No. Hot and dry. Now, most of the deserts that we looked at, right? Most of them, which one of those two is the best answer? Hot and dry. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. If I put that on a test, and one of you came up to me and you said, hey, Mr. Bullens, remember when we were looking at the Gobi Desert? It was very cold there, and it was very dry. I'm going to go back and change that to the correct answer if you tell me that. If it's something we talked about in class and I missed it, I'm not going to put that on a test because there's two good answers in my opinion. I can't, but I mean, best describes a desert. Most deserts, we all know hot and dry. That's what we think. Which of these ecosystems supports the widest variety of plants and animals? Are there a lot of plants and animals in the desert? No, because there's not a lot of water. Are there a lot of plants and animals in the estuary? There's quite a bit. What about in a grassland? There's a lot of grass. Are there any other plants? So if it says the widest variety of plants, it's just grass in a grassland. And that about a deciduous forest. Pretty good amount. Now we have to pick the best. Now this is a tough one, in my opinion. Which one of those do you think has the widest variety of plants? Estuary is the better answer. And I've got 2 minutes to do maybe a couple more here. I'll try to get 10 and 11 done. Which would best survive in and I go to underline this and do it in blue, freshwater ecosystem with frogs, turtles, and salamanders. Okay? Clams. Would clams do very well in a freshwater ecosystem? No. Probably not. How about a crab? She says some crabs. So we'll put a maybe. What about snails? I mean, maybe you've done this. I don't know. Who's ever poured salt on a snail before?
Oh, me.
Oh, wow, everyone. You guys are terrible people, just like me. If you do that, the snail shrivels up. Could it live in anything else but fresh water? No, that's actually a pretty good answer. What about oysters? No, they live in salt water. Now I have two choices. What's the best answer? Snails. Snails. Last question. A minute to do it. Which ecosystem has life forms most similar to those of the ocean? Now tell me about ocean life forms. What do they need to be able to adapt to in an ocean?
Salt water.
You got to live in salt water. Okay? In estuary, what kind of water do we have there? Brackish, salty and fresh. But there's some salt in it. What about a lake? What about a pond? What about a swamp? Kind of a mix of, it depends on where the swamp is. So these two are freshwater. They make no sense. This one could have it, but there's also inland swamps. And it could be like a bog and just have like really kind of terrible water. What's the best answer? Which one's closest to the ocean? Estuary. You guys feel good about that?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.